We're dressed in these authentic Viking helmets so that we can talk today about
the Viking Press.
Tips, how to get set up, mistakes to avoid, rules to keep in mind, all the things that you need to know.
First things first, you have to consider your foot placement. For December 8th, this is the implement we're going to be using. We are going to be facing the implement. You don't want to get too close like this where the handles are directly over your feet. You want to go in with the arc of the arm. So what you want to do is just take a slight step back so your feet are just beyond the handles. That will create where you can lean in as you're pressing, and you can use that to your advantage. It will help stabilize to a degree. This is actually on a pivot. It will move side to side, so you have to be kind of careful. But if you lean into it, it does stabilize the weight a little bit. The handles are the same distance apart as most logs. It won't feel very foreign to some people that are familiar with the sport. Second, you want to consider where to place your hands on the handle. Oftentimes, I will see people bring their hands in. That's bad leverage. Bring your hands all the way out as far as you can, right? As long as they're not like flying off the back end. Instead of here, bring them all the way back to the end. That gives you better leverage and you'll actually have a better time lifting. All right, so third would be the initial pickup. You don't want to grab the handles with them out far like this. You get kind of like almost like wedged in between the handles like that. So basically your hands are closer to your ears. When you're getting ready to press, a good tactic is to pump blood into your lats. Some people don't think about this. Do some light exercise, or even just kind of have like an imaginary band, and you're just pulling your lats back. So as I'm doing this, I'm pumping blood into my lats. The lats are getting fuller and fuller. So when you get ready to do the press, you already have a pump in your lats. That can act as a stabilizing factor, and also you can get a little bit of a rebound. Another thing to consider is your foot width. You don't want to be super narrow, and you don't want to be super wide. You have your feet about shoulder width apart. So use the stance that you would normally say do a jump with. If you can find where you can jump the highest, that's probably the width that you want to try. Some contests, they have rules on how you can press. Strict press and push press is usually the norm. Sometimes, like in our contest that we're going to have in December, we are allowing double dipping. The strict press here, kind of push press, initialize with your legs like a jerk. One thing that you do not want to do is have the lever arm bang into the crossbar. If you tap it, that's usually okay. But if you try to crash this down and get a rebound off of the beam, you're going to be kicked out of the event.
This is probably a good juncture to talk about some of the rules and things that you need to be aware of. Not everybody allows double dips.
Nope.
You might end up having a permanent rivalry with an entire competition based on such things. Not saying that that's happened with any famous strongman in a large competition. Also, our judge, Inez, who will be here for Christmas, the way she judges, your heel needs to return to the floor in order for the lift to count.
Yep.
Also, with the crashing down, we aren't going to let people set it all the way down.
You have 60 seconds to do the whole event, but if you set it down onto the beam, that's it.
It's always a great idea to train the way you're doing it in competition. Lock everything out, put your heels down, do it the exact same way so that you're not building bad habits while you're training.
Oh, definitely wait for the signal of the judge.
You are going to be a very grumpy person if you do like 15 reps on something and you turn around and the judge tells you that you got 0 or like 2 or 3. So make sure you're listening.
It has happened, yeah.
Yeah. Even when you're training, try training with someone giving you down signals just so you're getting used to doing that.
Equipment that you can wear. Belt is recommended so you can stabilize. You can wear elbow sleeves. Wrist wraps are fine. Knee wraps or sleeves are also good. Shoes. I would recommend a shoe with a heel, just because if you're going towards the implement, your ankles are going to be a little bit flexed. If you go up on a heel a little bit, that kind of puts you in a better position also for the leg drive.
So probably like a work boot or a weightlifting shoe, not so much like a stiletto or a...
Yeah, no stilettos or sandals or Crocs.
Yeah.
I've seen people lift in Crocs. I've lifted in Crocs before.
Probably not recommended for competition.
No, absolutely not. But you don't have to go and get like Olympic lifting shoes. If you have a work boot and it has a heel, that will help. So how do you train the Viking press without the Viking press? Well, it's always best to have something similar to what you're going to be lifting on. There are things that you can do that will help. One would be like, say, if you have access to a log, the handles are the same distance apart. Log presses work really well. You could also do dumbbell presses overhead with like a neutral grip, right? You can do that. You can hook up 2 barbells in the rack. I'd probably have to show you actually how to do that. But you would grab the end of each barbell and you could, that's actually really hard because then you have to stabilize each one. They're independent. The next best thing I would say from getting an actual Viking press is to buy a landmine attachment, like a Viking press handle landmine attachment. That's probably the best option that you'll have if you don't have something like this. Viking press implements vary, sometimes fairly widely. Our implement, we have neutral handles here. Sometimes you'll come across some handles that are more of a straight bar. Also, sometimes you'll be facing the implement when you're pressing or facing out.
For us, we'll be facing towards the implement for most of our shows, including the Christmas one.
This implement here, arm is roughly 12 foot long and you have like 2-foot handles. So you're out like 14 feet. So the leverage is a little bit different than what you would find in a gym.
It's always something important too, is to understand the math on these is not going to be the same depending on where your plates are loaded.
This one I believe is like a 60% ratio. So whatever you put on the loading pins here is 60% of whatever weight that is. This empty weighs roughly, I think, 110 in the hands. Definitely heavier than what you would find in a normal gym.
Kind of covers the basics of Viking press. If you got any other questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments.
If you would like to train, do we have a great team? I feel incredibly blessed with the people that we have. They're
Yeah, we got a great
phenomenal.
crew.
We have room for a few more, not a whole lot more.
Yeah.
We don't want to overcrowd and take away from the quality of the training from anybody. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook.
All of that stuff.
I think it's good, yeah.
OneWayStrength.com. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great day. Watch out for deer. I think that's historically accurate.
Yeah.
This is probably how Vikings pressed things.
I think so.
You would actually never guess, but this was the dog's hat.
Blah, 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 blah. These handles are adjustable, so I am going to adjust this down a little bit for me.
Danny was here last. We had to adjust it for him. He's very tall.
He's like 8'7".
We know you're watching this, Danny.